Innsmouth, stranger.
Hi, I'm Rob Whiten from the Innsmouth Book Club. Join me and my fellow guide John Chadwick as we take you on a fortnightly tour of Innsmouth. We visit places such as the Picture House, the Library and Innsmouth Museum to discuss all aspects of weird fiction, whether it be book, film, music, TV or art. As well as that, we stop over at the Gilman House to have a chat with a resident guest. That includes authors, artists, musicians, in fact Lovecraftian creatives of all types. You can find our free shows on Patreon, and there you can also sign up as a patron, which brings you bonus content, plus a monthly PDF copy of Innsmouth News, which features articles, author spotlights, all the latest news and reviews, and more. You can find us at patreon.com/InnsmouthBC. We hope to see you soon, because remember, Innsmouth isn't just a place, it's a state of mind.
You're listening to KZOM, Oleander Public Radio. Welcome to People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos with Dave and DB.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. I am one of your many co-hosts. To my virtual right, left, or wherever, we have Gretchen Brooks and David Heath. How are you two doing this fine week?
I am well.
You're feeling better?
I feel much better.
That's good. That's good. And the goat children are good?
Their goats are hungry. But
goats are always hungry.
They're doing well.
All right.
I'm just chilling. I'm going on my camping trip on Monday. On Monday through Wednesday, I'm gonna go camping at the coast, get some oceanside views.
Super neat. My weekend's going to consist of building multiple guitars, canjos, and prepping for the next major string of markets coming up for me. So if you find yourself in Hawkinson or the Vancouver Wine and Beer Festival or the Vancouver Jazz and Wine Festival, I will be there with bells and banjos or canjos and guitars and blasters. So, look for me.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I almost thought you were going to say if you find yourself in Hawkins from Stranger Things.
No. But the guitars I'm selling do look like the guitars from Stranger Things at the
we got Eddie's guitar, his Flying V.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I got a bunch of those.
My random knowledge check. Boom. Passed.
Yep. So yeah, we got those, and that's going on throughout June, July, and August. So check us out wherever. I'll update. So yeah, this week we're talking about what SHANTAKS, Seabury, Quinn, and the film The Gate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Dave, I'd like you to start us out this week with information on SHANTAKS.
SHANTAKS. So I have a new word.
Yeah.
See if I can find it here.
He's got to find his word.
Yeah, no, I wrote it down. Hippophenolic or something.
Hippogriff?
Okay.
No, it's it means like horse head.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
And Lovecraft uses it to describe the SHANTAKS.
Oh.
And so, are you ready? I'm going to mispronounce it because I mispronounce everything. Hippocephalic. HIPPCEPH. No, HIPPOCEPHALIC.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And if Dave didn't pronounce it right, You make your own podcast.
Oh man, if we're gonna get dinged for not pronouncing things, I'm long canceled.
Oh yeah. No, I mean this podcast would have never started, but.
And do you know how many times Lovecraft uses that word?
How many times?
He uses it 7 times, I think. Yeah.
Oh wow.
He goes to town. He almost likes it as much as he likes Cyclopean, because he uses it 7 times in the Dream Quest of Lost Kadath.
Okay. Oh,
neato.
Okay.
I gotta say, that's pretty dry.
Yeah.
I just read that the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. I hadn't read it before. And I mean, I've read parts of the Dreamlands, obviously, but like this one was one that was kind of like me who passed on it. And yeah, that's a super dry story. Is this like the beginning of his career, or is this the end of his career?
Oh geez, I'm trying to think.
I believe I'm going to look it up, but I believe it's about 1926.
Because there's definitely a shift in tone. I mean, I get it's like Carter, and that's like the story. Like he's the main character, and he shows up quite a few times in other stories. But like, it's just such a different vibe than, let's see, at the Mountains of Madness, or
I feel like this was written while Lovecraft was engaged, about to be married, and it's like the mythos stuff is like what happened after he was in New York and then moved back to Boston, or moved back to Providence.
Yeah, and it was 1927.
Okay.
Yeah.
1927 is what. Yeah. And I think it's the last of the dream stories.
Yep.
It sort of goes from the Dreamlands and then goes into his cosmic horror.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the vibe. Is like it feels like it's definitely not a magnum opus, of course.
No.
But it's of the Dreamland stories, this is not my favorite.
No.
I know we're not talking about Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, we're talking about SHANTAKS, but I just know that there's like that's where only thing I know of its knowledge about him as far as what story they were in.
Yeah.
And are they like is what they call Thestrals or something like that, and She Who Not Be Shall Be Named books about a certain young wizard?
Oh, I was thinking you were talking about Haggard, the book She. But no, you're talking about the books about written like in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about S. Rider Haggard. I was going. I don't remember them in the Alan Quartermain
one from
stories,
Britain
but
that is canceled.
Those I never read those books.
Yeah, there's this creature that they describe as like a horse-like bat scales.
Yeah.
They call them Thestrals, but you can only see them if you've experienced death. So it's like a MacGuffin in the story.
Yeah. Also,
I hadn't heard that they used a lot of Lovecraft in those, but maybe.
Yeah. Delta Green uses it kind of like that, but you can only if you've experienced a lot of death, and you can only kind of see it out of the corner of your eye. But otherwise, they look like people, but not quite like people. There's like a character who's a Shantak. Oh no! That's a haunting horror.
Yeah, it was okay.
I get my horse-headed
Lovecraftian monsters mixed up. I mean, the only other thing I read about them is that their eggs are really delicious.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And they're afraid of the night gaunts.
Yep.
Oh, well, I would be afraid of night gaunts too.
Yeah.
They are ticklers.
Yeah. And yes, night gaunts. Well, now we're getting way off, but I have a theory about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, night gaunts were basically a reoccurring nightmare of Lovecraft when he was 5.
Okay.
And so my theory has always been, and that they tickle and you lose control. That's how adults control little kids. They pick them up and tickle them. And that's what I always figured it was some sort, especially because Lovecraft's mom was afraid of him touching other human beings. She literally was afraid that if people held both his hands at the same time, they'd rip his arms off.
Oh my God, really?
She had some problems. I mean,
we know Lovecraft has issues. It's been, over and over we've said that. But oh, buddy.
Yeah. Well, Susie Lovecraft, and Susie was her middle name. She dies in the same mental institution that Lovecraft's father dies in.
Huh.
So,
wow.
But yeah, and I know we're way off. Maybe we should save this for Night Goth. But I've always thought that was some sort of repressed childhood thing, being left up and tickled. Because if you're 5 years old, that's scary.
Man, you probably are onto something.
My theory is it's what he used as an excuse for why he peed the bed.
Oh.
I don't know if Lovecraft peed the bed, but he had dreams of being tickled so much he peed the bed. And yeah, biographers just leave that part out. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking, everyone. Do not write that in your Lovecraft paper.
Bedwetter. Lovecraft.
Chat GPT has already put that in 10 different final exams.
Good.
But honestly, I mean, are there more things about the Shantak other than they're just a base description character that it doesn't even have it doesn't even seem to be, it's not even really a character in this story. It's just kind of that's a thing that's there, those are there.
It's kind of like describing the fauna of the Dreamlands without actually going into it. It's kind of like there's stuff in the Vale of Panath with the ghouls and the ghasts and the doles and the gugs, my favorite. Well, actually, ghouls are my favorite, but gugs are pretty cool too. But there's aspects of things that are not really gone into in that section. And also there's stuff that's just kind of glossed over throughout the story. And I feel like Shantax are one of those where it's they're not really fleshed out. But that's the cool thing about them is your mind can fill in what they are. But, yeah.
Yeah,
so
to me, it's kind of like Lovecraft's version of a Pegasus.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, looking at the picture I have on the Lovecraft Wiki. Totally.
Because they ride around them and they're sort of mysterious at night. And to the best of my knowledge, they only appear in 2 stories of the original stuff. Yeah. And one of them's questionable. Dream Quest, of course, but also The Gable Window.
Oh, that's isn't that a joint effort with Augie Dog Derleth?
Yeah. Derleth just added a little tiny bit. No, it is, and I mean, obviously, you read it because the main character it's almost like a scientific log if you're looking into the Dreamlands, and so he looks through the window and he sees Shantax a couple times, but again, who really picked them up, and honestly, the first place I came across them, role-playing games.
Yeah.
Chaosium, but Pathfinder really went hard into Lovecraftian, and they're.
Now, what do our friends at Paizo say about Shantax?
Well, that's a good question. Let us look that up. Well, I was saying the one thing that did when I kind of again sort of skimmed through Dream Quest is that there's a throwaway line where they don't have feathers, that they've got lizard skin. So they're almost more like dragons.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what made me think they look like Thestrals, whatever the heck that is. Or what is that unseelie fey creature that has a kind of a horse head like that?
I can't pronounce its name, but I know what you're talking about. or there's a couple unseelie kind of fey creatures that have like a horse head, or look like a horse with a body on it, or that kind of stuff. But are you talking like the one in the water that has like a body on the back, or the one that looks like
Kelpie or
Kelpie? I think is what it is.
Okay.
Or what are the ones that drag you? Is that Kelpies that drag you into the water that are like they're like they come up? They look like horses that are half submerged.
Is that
I think
silky?
That's one of the ways they can look, or silkies maybe.
Yeah.
I thought silkies were seals.
Yeah, I think kelpies. I think you're right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably something that's horse looking that's in the water that'll drag you into the ocean. That's probably in real life a seal.
Nixie is a similar animal.
Okay. All right.
And that's like a German version.
Gotcha.
The Nekalavi.
Or the Knockin or whatever.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of that I don't know how to pronounce.
Noxen, Knockin, Nacken. I don't know. I Nihongo. I do not speak.
Well, I mean, it seems kind of moot at this point due to the fact that there's just not enough Shantak stuff out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even, I did jump on the Piazza website.
Uh-huh.
And they kind of, they kind of use them almost like between harpies and gargoyles.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
Oh, yeah. I totally could see that.
Yeah. Harpies and gargoyles. I like that.
Because they're like kind of half seated and they have like the weird backward leg thing. And then they got, I mean, of course, I'm looking, like I said, I'm looking at the HP Lovecraft wiki. The images.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about like, but just something kind of like horse-like that's kind of scaly and has horns and wings. It's like, oh man, that's kind of cool looking.
Do they serve any purpose other than being a background descriptor?
Are they like servants of like Noroi Ho Tep or?
Yeah.
Yeah, and weren't they like primarily transportation?
Are they transportation?
I don't know. I'm asking you, Dave.
I'm thinking that that's sort of what the idea is, that they were that you ride them. That's why I was thinking it's like the Pegasi.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
They look rideable.
Yeah. And is a Shantak and a Bayaki pretty much the same thing?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I'm going to say I don't know.
But they are kind of both riding, and our good friend, Ken Hyde always describes the Bayaki as like ducks.
Yeah.
Because they ride them on the river in the festival.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've always thought, and maybe this is again because I've been influenced by the pictures of Chaosium. Sure. I always thought that the Bayaki are closer to night gaunts than they are the Shantak.
Sure.
One thing I did notice when I was perusing Dream Quest today.
Yeah.
And it's like Shantaks come up like 43 times.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, it's almost always the Shantak -bird.
Okay.
So you keep on writing, he starts dropping that -bird. And, even when he says they don't have feathers, that they have like lizard-like skin, he definitely, and he uses, that horse head, but he uses the term bird to describe them even more.
Okay. So it could just be a bipedal lizard thing with a big old horse head kind of head.
Gnarly.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking of like the dragon on like the what is it? Wales, or is it
Horsehead Jenny?
Oh no. I'm just thinking of like the red dragon on the Welsh flag.
Oh.
With the curl tail with the spike on it. So
totally.
Welsh or Cornish, I can't remember. Anyway. anyway. But yeah, no,
so.
it could just be, it just like it has a big, large, horse-shaped head, I guess. But I mean, if no one had even heard of a T-Rex before, they might call that horse-shaped. I don't know.
Totally.
No. But yeah, SHANTAKS, not a lot to talk about.
Yeah, the kind of backgrounds.
All right. Up next, Dave will be talking about Seabury Quinn, and and then after that, we're going to be talking about The Gate. So this is another movie that Gretchen picked, and it's one of my childhood favorites, I have to say. So we'll be talking about that soon. But first, I just want to say, if you need a 3D printer, the price for the Cobra Go has dropped $20. They released a second generation of Cobra Go's. So the first generation Cobra Go's, they're priced to go. So check out.
The Cobra Go's are about to go.
Yeah. Check out the link in the show notes to find out how you can save money with any cubic. And there's going to be some codes for filament and just discounts in general. So check that out. And moving on to the next part. Just to remind everyone, if you like what you're hearing, like this episode, share it with people, subscribe to the podcast, find us on Facebook. We're under People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. We're on Twitter. I don't really check Twitter, so it's just kind of the automatic feed if you just want to listen to us on Twitter for some reason. You can find us on any place, any podcatchers that are out there. Of course, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, the YouTube, where this episode will be. And,
This episode is brought to you by California Tea House. California Tea House is a family-owned tea store where you can find some of the world's best loose-leaf tea and organic herbal tea blends. Like a fine wine, there is no comparison between fine loose-leaf and common broken-leaf tea bags. So, check them out. Check them out. They have quite a bit of pretty awesome tea collections. I'm a huge fan of their white teas. They have a tea club that you can join, but, they've got green tea, black tea, white tea, oolong, that Robios and herbal tea. They've also got teaware. So check out California Tea House in the show notes.
I want to tell you all about something. I want to tell you about a guy I know in a place. This is Dave's Corner of the Podcast. It is awesome. It's gonna go fast. It's not the interview pod. Ha ha. Ha ha. It's not the pod where DB talks forever, ever, ever. No, it's Dave's Corner of the Podcast. Dave's Corner of the Podcast. Dave, everyone.
Hey everyone, it's me, Dave, Farmer Dave, and I thought we'd talk a little bit about pulp stories and pulp writers. And to start things off, I've got a question for you. Who do you think was the most successful pulp writer in his lifetime? Well, I kind of tipped it off a little bit by saying his. Well, that's not much of a clue since 95% of the pulp writers were male. So I'm going to set a few guidelines here. My question, my guideline. So we're going to eliminate writers who were successful in other ways and who started out as pulp writers. So, so we're not going to count Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, Robert E. Heinlein, or pulp writers who started their own religion. I'm looking at you, L. Ron Hubbard. And by success, we're going to go by amount of stories published, name, reputation during their lifetime, and money. It always comes down to money. So, because this is a show about the Cthulhu mythos, Maybe you would say H.P. Lovecraft. Well, like many authors, Lovecraft didn't have success in his lifetime. He basically starved himself to death because he did not make enough money. His reputation is actually going to start building in the 60s, 70s, and 80s because of Arkham House. If I didn't know the answer, maybe I would have guessed Robert E. Howard. I mean, the man did create Conan the Barbarian, and he did have a degree of fame, a pretty big slice of fame, but he didn't become this superstar until, again, after his death, and with the publication of the trade paperback by the Ace Lancer publications with those Frazetta pictures that basically made Conan the icon that he would become. So maybe you would say, if it's not Lovecraft, it's not Howard, what if it is the third member of the unholy trinity, Clark Ashton Smith? Now, Smith had some success, got a little bit more money than Lovecraft. He was also a rather well-renowned poet before he became a pulp writer. But no, it's not Smith. It's Seabury Quinn. More than likely right now you're saying, who? In a lot of ways, Quinn is going to be the anti-Lovecraft. He is going to be successful in his lifetime. He is going to be educated. He is going to have a career. He is going to have a following during his lifetime. And in the opposite of Lovecraft, he is also going to become less popular after he dies. Quinn also does something that Lovecraft is denied. He's allowed military service in World War I. He obtains a law degree and passes the bar, becomes a lawyer. He publishes over 500 pieces, which Lovecraft, to best of our knowledge, and yeah, it gets a little messy because, how much of the later stuff was Derleth writing under Lovecraft's name, but best estimate, Lovecraft had 60 stories, where Quinn had over 500 published pieces, including 2 legal books. He was a full-time lawyer who worked mainly in early movie law, but also for mortician law, which it's kind of weird that there was such thing as mortician law, lawyers for morticians. I mean, how do you hurt a dead person? But not only did he write books about it, he also published, their magazine. He was considered an expert on it. But he did write a lot of mysteries. And the most famous mysteries, horror, his most famous is his Jules de Gardin stories. And Jules is he's an occult detective. He's not just an occult detective. He is the occult detective. So take a little bit of Abraham Van Helsing, a little bit of Sherlock Holmes, and then spice him up with a little bit of James Bond. He worked for the French National Police, but he's got basically he has legal enforcement powers throughout the world. And a lot of his stories end up in New Jersey, where he has a doctor companion who writes his stories, and a lot like Watson. Now, Gardin appears in 90 stories. That's, 30 more than Lovecraft wrote with any character or any idea. And the character that repeats the most appearances in the Lovecraft stories is, of course, Randolph Carter, who appears in 6'5" or so. So Gardin is basically an expert in forensics. He's a medical doctor, an expert on the occult. And Garden's stories are going to, I wouldn't say they are maybe as saucy or racy, and again, you don't see the air quotes as, say, Robert E. Howard's, but there was enough in them that close to 1820, we're going to have parts where the artist could draw female-centric covers. And we talked a little bit about this last week, where if there could be a little bit of sauciness, that would get the cover, because back then, like now, scantily clothed women, sold magazines. Where last week we were talking about we could only come up with 2 cover stories in Lovecraft's lifetime. Another difference that's going to happen is in the Garden stories, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing this because I mispronounce English words, little French words, but in these stories, a lot of them center around love, romance, or relationships, something that Lovecraft would completely avoid, of course. Now, Quinn, who often published under the name Jerome Burke, the irony was he didn't really need the money. He did this out of pure enjoyment. He loved writing. He was making good buck being a lawyer. Unlike Lovecraft, who was making, basically just living off pennies most of his life, who also did, I think, write out of pure love, it did not matter to Quinn. He just didn't need the money. Ironically enough, as the pulps begin to die and Quinn's writings become out of vogue, it's Arkham House that does one of the first collections of his stories. Another thing where he is different from Lovecraft is Quinn is going to outlive him by 30 years. He's going to die on Christmas Eve in 1969. 8 years after he passed away, Quinn's novel Alien Flesh is published. And in ways, this is a progressive story where it's basically an archaeologist who has a supernaturally forced sex change. And it really does sort of, for the time it was written, and so it was written in the 30s, even though it wasn't published for another 40 years. And there are going to be stories about people becoming different genders. Orlando, of course. But Quinn does capture a lot of the essence of what it is to be masculine and feminine to a point. So even as Jules Desjardins becomes, stories are written later on, his character has a very masculine personality, but he later on describes him in more feminine tones. I don't think anyone would describe Quinn as what we would now say woke, but in ways he was more progressive than a lot of his contemporaries. Now, in general, his stories, I kind of see them as sort of the pulp equivalent to 1980s must-see sitcoms. That for their time, they were hits, they were successful, but we kind of outgrew them as a society. In a lot of ways, his writings were comfort food for the pulps. People liked them, they enjoyed them, they were shocked, they, saw the things they wanted to see. Sometimes the creatures were supernatural, sometimes they weren't. A lot of his stories, too, are going to be Universal Monsters. So we see this pre-Universal Monsters versions of werewolves and vampires and ghosts before the tropes that we're used to now were locked in. That said, as I kind of dissed Quinn, he wrote what I think is the single best pulp story ever. In 1940, The Lesser Brethren Mourn. And in ways, he's kind of progressive with religions, but, he calls the Yadis devil worshippers. He has Tibetan Buddhist as being satanic. And the same thing, he says that, the Lesser Brethren is a line from the Quran, but if it is, I can't find it. I'm not a Quran expert. So if someone does know where it came from, please let me know. And because he was a lawyer for mortuaries and the mortuary business, this takes place after this sort of sage world traveler dies and his body is waiting to be buried. I'm not going to spoil it, but it is truly, in my opinion, the best pulp story out there, and it's not easy to find. Originally, it was published in the 1940 version of Strange Stories, in I believe the October issue. In 1994, Barnes & Noble did a bunch of collections of public domain short stories. One of them was 100 creepy critter tales. And they weren't all. A lot of them were public domain, but not all of them. They did the hardback version and then a paperback version the next year. And that's where I picked it up at a Barnes & Noble, probably late 90s, in their discounted book rack. And I love that story. That was really my introduction to the actual writings of Quinn, and it is an amazing story. I'm not going to spoil it. If you can get it, then definitely. If you can track down that book, or since then it's been published in 2 other anthologies that I'm aware of. One is Tales of the Fantastic and Supernatural, and the other is Someday I Will Kill You. That's not me making a threat. No, that's the name of the anthology. To best of my knowledge, it is not online. And I'm not sure if Quinn is public domain or not. He has been dead now for 54 years. I just don't know how the law goes. But there's not as much interest. Like I said, where Lovecraft's fame and popularity picked up, posthumously, Quinn started being forgotten, though he was, by many accounts and by many different metrics, the most popular of the pulp and successful of the pulp writers. And The Lesser Brethren Mourn, it is definitely proof that he could write an amazing story. So if you do have a chance to pick that up, absolutely, by all means, I would. You really are going to be doing yourself a favor. That Barnes & Noble anthology, I think last time I checked, you can still pick it up, used copy, like under $10 through used bookstores online. It's a treat. I definitely would recommend it, for the Quinn story alone. But it's got a lot of good stories. I believe some Lovecraft, the short story that the movie The Mimic is based on appeared. Just some really good stories. So I think it's about time that we get back with Gretchen and DB, and I think we're going to be talking about...
Hey everyone, it's me, DB. New sponsor on the show, GLAAKI. GLAAKI offers a great price and better quality goods and services for music lovers. Are you looking for good prices, free shipping, 100% quality guarantee? GLAAKI's got you covered. Guitars, bass guitars, mandolins. They've got saxophones, trumpets, drums. They've got guitar cases, amplifiers, all the stuff that you need without having to break the bank. Inexpensive doesn't have to mean cheap. Check out the show notes to find more about GLAAKI. 20-watt amplifiers for under $50. Hard cases for your electric guitar for under $80. Guitars themselves for under $90. Come on, folks, check out the show notes. Get a GLAAKI.
Prepare for a spine-tingling, nerve-shattering podcast featuring all your favorite monsters. You won't believe your ears when you listen to Monster Kid Radio. Here are your hosts, Derek M. Cook, and his ever-rotating stable of guests discuss your favorite classic and sometimes not-so-classic monster movies. Subscribe to Monster Kid Radio through iTunes or Stitcher, or visit monsterkidradio.net before the next weekly episode of Monster Kid Radio. Go through the archives for interviews with Sarah Karloff, Victoria Price, and Joel Hodgson. Listen to discussions about movies like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Island of Terror, and King Kong. And don't forget convention coverage from Monster Bash and the HP Lovecraft Film Festival. Classic monsters, modern talk, and the head of Rondo Hatton. Only on Monster Kid Radio.
Hey everyone, it's me, DB. Did you know that I don't know what the next thing that I'm going to be talking about is? What I do know is one of my favorite things to drink ever is coffee. One of my favorite coffees is Copper Cow coffee. I've been talking about Copper Cow for a while. It's a Vietnamese pour over. Super cool. You can just compost it at the end. Check the show notes on how to get a discount on it. And I don't know, get a subscription. Get it sent to your door. It's really good stuff. Great for camping. Great for work. Great for if you're out and about and just need some hot water and coffee. And it's really good. You just, however strong you want it is how much water you put into it. 4 to 8 ounces of water. It's really good. They've got all kinds of good flavors. My personal favorite is the lavender. And check it out. And the lattes are really good. The condensed milk chocolate is really good. I just eat it by itself and then drink the coffee. All right. Anyway, check them out. Copper Cow in the show notes. Have a good one.
This part of the show doesn't have a theme song. This part of the show doesn't have a theme song, yeah. Dave and DB and Gretchen go to the movies. Hopefully next week we'll have a real theme song, yeah.
All right, so we're talking about The Gate. Gretchen, can you tell me about The Gate?
Gosh, I mean, it's one of those movies that I feel like everybody caught on cable, right?
Yeah.
Like either if you didn't catch it on just regular standardized cable, you caught it on one of those like USA Up All Night type things.
Yeah.
It was, I want to say Full Moon production, but probably not. It just had that kind of vibe for it.
Yeah.
It was a Canadian movie.
It is a Canadian movie.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny because you know that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, Alliance Entertainment.
Alliance. Okay. Thank you. What's funny about that is like being how the rules in Canada were really strict at the time for like them shooting this, and they're shooting in the backyard. And one of the blurbs I read about it said that opening scene where the tree is being excavated, they actually had to get that tree from another place because it was very much against the law to cut down healthy trees.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That makes
so
sense.
that whole opening scene is like completely manufactured, of course, movie magic.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
this is a baby Stephen Dorff.
Yeah,
I know.
Isn't he just a precious little thing in this movie? I love this movie. I mean, this is the one I wanted to show this to my kid when they were little, but they were kind of more gravitated to The Thing as like their first horror film that they really dug. But this one was like a more grown-up version of Monster Squad, but not quite too scary, but a little scary.
Yeah,
It
I feel
has
like
adult themes.
it's somewhere between Monster Squad and Evil Dead 2, but or actually what I think is a little bit better, it's somewhere between Poltergeist and Evil Dead 2 for its like scariness.
Yeah.
And its graphicness. It's like there's some stuff that's scary as hell, but it doesn't ever go too overboard. But there's like stop motion stuff that's kind of cool and crazy and awesome in it as well. And it's such a cool movie.
So in the late 80s, there was this short time where there was children's horror.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gremlins, Monster Squad, even Goonies, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But,
yeah, I can see that.
So a couple of things I think came in that this movie could probably only have been made a year or two other way of 1987.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the PMRC, things like that.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly. PG-13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that? PMRC is like Tipper Gore and the music stuff. This is M something.
MMPA ratings or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, beyond that, because in the South, you wouldn't have been able to see this movie I don't think this movie was ever played on this big screen that I remember.
Uh-huh.
Maybe The Gate 2 was, but I really don't think it was, honestly. If I remember properly, it was just something I saw online. I mean, not online. Jesus. On all-night cable.
So I think it had a decent release, actually.
Yeah.
And it went up against Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Oh.
Wow.
Beverly Hills Cop 2 came out the next week.
Oh yeah, it beat its budget, so that's pretty good. $13.5 million in the box office.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
And if it had been made today, I think it would have gotten an R.
Oh, definitely.
Not
I mean, that's
anything.
the script was originally an R-rated script. It was totally blood and gore, and then they decided to cut back on it. Like what I was reading said that the original writer wrote this with a abundant gore and death, and that the studio made him tone it down because they didn't think it could market a movie predominantly starring children to adults. So that's what its main problem was, is that people were like, kids won't like this.
Yeah.
Or adults won't like this, but kids will like this. So they were like, let's take that from a 10 to a 5. Maybe some 6s on sometimes. There's some intense stuff, like the dog being hugged to death scene.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Gosh, I didn't register that as the kid actually, Terry, hugging the dog to death. I thought maybe the dog had already passed away, but that's the impression that you get.
Yeah.
What did you guys think?
The father, the doppelganger, the father's face melting.
Oh, that was gnarly.
The almond milk is I think I thought of it as the last time I watched it. I was like, that's like almond milk, but
gosh, even the minions were kind of scary. I mean they're minions. But
those were all actors, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was forced perception.
Yeah, that stuff was so cool.
Positing and forced perception.
Yeah.
But I think the best effect, honestly, is the eye in the hand.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I used to have a really rad t-shirt that I got at Monster Palooza that had just because the Gate, you don't see a whole lot of merchandise for that movie.
No.
I guess people are just it's such a kids on bike kind of film that they were like, meh,
Yeah.
But I had this really rad t-shirt that I found from I think it's London 1857 or something like that label, but it was just of the hand, and then it had all the background was like all the album art for the band.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you guys know that like there was actually like a 3D remake that you remember Alex Winter from like Lost Boy or Lost. Yeah, he was going to do a 3D remake of the film, but like I guess want to say like the early teens, like the 2011, 2010.
He would be a perfect director for that.
Right?
Oh man. If you've seen Freaks, or any of the Butthole Surfer stuff that he's directed, he's amazing.
Wouldn't that have been cool though? Like a 3D version of the Gates? Can you imagine? Oh my gosh, that would be so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember there was a tape my buddy made off of like HBO, Showtime, or whatever it was at the time, Cinemax, and it had Munchies.
Oh God.
The Wraith.
Wow.
And this on it, and the Wraith was the last one, and it's like the last 2 minutes of the Wraith are cut off. It's like, oh yeah, well, we know what it ends. It's just, Cheryl Finn being like, we're safe or whatever.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. I can't remember how it ended because I've only seen the ending twice. But yeah, no, it was on that, and that's just like one of those movies that I saw a lot. It's like I've seen this, and I want to say like Return of the Living Dead like so many times as just a child.
This and People Under the Stairs, I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I watched that one too much.
I never saw that until like the last few years, and I was like, I just saw it like probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh wow!
And I was like, why the hell haven't I seen this movie? This movie is amazing.
I feel like they have a similar vibe.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But yeah, no. And the thing I wanted to talk about is it does have a very kind of Evil Dead 2 feel to it. You've got this dark book. You've got a recording.
The book is an album, though.
Yeah. It's copied from the original book, though, that this band worshipped, and
the band's real, by the way.
Oh,
that are they?
Yeah. So that particular album was not. But the name and the logo was off of some Canadian band.
Okay.
In fact, there's a bunch of like Toronto, like it's Terry who has that jacket with the band.
Yeah, he's got his metal vest.
Those are real bands.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. It had Venom. I mean, he had like Venom on the back of it. What I was gonna say I respect about Mr. Terry is that he had a Duran Duran poster up on the wall.
Yeah.
Like he had all the other like he had like Slayer and like Wasp, and then he had like Duran Duran. I was like, yeah, sir, I feel
you. You can't listen to metal all the time.
Gotta listen to some Duran Duran, some Hungry Like the Wolf.
Exactly. But Terry's like the fun character in the movie. There's always like that one fun character in a horror movie, or like the person who explains things or knows something about something. He's like a deliverer of information, but also of misinformation, and also like in some ways gets the ball rolling with the demon stuff. Otherwise, it's like, good thing Terry was there, or they wouldn't know anything about anything.
Yeah, he's kind of carries the story, but like I think like that was the reason why we set up with the slumber, not the slumber party, but the party that the teenagers have.
Yeah.
And they're playing like light as a feather, heavy as a stone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that sets up like the paranormal beginning, and then we have like, the album happens, and then.
Yeah. Something else I really noticed about this is, I don't know about where you grew up, but where I grew up, it looked like 1980 whatever. But like people dressed like how people really dressed. It wasn't like I don't know. If you watch stuff that's set in the 80s nowadays, and they always like put people in like stuff that no one would ever wear, or like stuff that only in like ads or stuff people wore, but it's like in this movie they're like, just okay, everyone just wear what you normally wear except for you, Mr. Terry. We've got a special jacket for you.
Here's your battle vest.
Yeah.
I love that, like, if you look at pictures of them now, like, Terry, that guy, still looks that doofy. Like, I just think that's awesome.
That's
like,
cool.
yes. Oh, bless his heart. I hope he does conventions.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Well, we know, like, Mr. Dwarf, what he's doing. I mean, after he went on to be Blade, he was in Blade and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Big Frost.
Yes. But what did you guys think of I was actually going to say the slumber party scene. I wanted to circle back to that. So remember the girl who is, this is so deep cut. It's going to be this is dumb. All right. So remember the girl who is telling the, is telling everybody like how to do the lightest.
Oh, the kind of I don't want to say weird girl, but I want to say the weird girl, the girl that doesn't quite fit in. She's kind of like,
it's like, she's not like all the other girls. She knows some spooky things.
Yeah.
She knows about the other side.
Yeah.
So that actress, funny enough, is always going to be in my head because she played a small role on Friday the 13th, the series. That series? Okay.
I remember that. Yeah.
So there was one episode where there was a magical compact that when you looked in it and the person who reflected past you was destined to die, and you would get beautiful or like either you would turn beautiful or people would think that you were beautiful, like perceive you as beautiful. And she played like the ugly girl, bless her heart. Mm-hmm. But I'll always remember her in that role, like just because she was so like just vicious. Seeing her back in this movie, I was like, whoa.
Sure.
Ingrid Vinegar.
What's that?
Ingrid Vinegar.
I think so.
Veninger.
Yes, Paula. She's like she plays the character Paula. Yeah. Wow, she's got dreadlocks as an adult.
And something I wanted to say is we have a children's movie, we have a horror movie, so we have the tropes from a children's all the tropes and the characters from a children's adventure movie, but also the tropes and the characters of a horror movie. Except for everyone's like early. I don't think anyone's supposed to be over 16.
No, I get the impression they're like the sister's 16 and like everybody is about that age because they're, first of all, I was surprised there was no sex.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, these wholesome 16-year-olds. I mean, obviously they were drinking and smoking a little bit. I think I remember people smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, but I think 80s. Of these kids as being like wholesome dorks, like wholesome Midwest dorks, but I mean they're wholesome Canadian dorks, but it's like, oh man, these guys are really getting it going up in Duluth. It's like I always thought it took place in like, it just like looks like it takes place somewhere in the Midwest, or like Ohio or Wisconsin or something like that. Everyone's very wholesome, and even like the scary kid is like a big dork. It's like you're not gonna go like. I mean, I feel like now if they cast Terry would be like, some scruffy metalhead who clearly smoked pot, and it'd be the guy from like Stranger Things.
Oh, and we see like a terrible like scene of him like cry masturbating or something like that. Like that's how I think modern movies would do that. Yeah. Like to make him be as weird as possible.
Yeah.
Like, so we know that he's the weird guy.
Yeah. And there would definitely be nudity, and it would be rated R, and yeah.
Totally.
Everyone would be all the actors would be over 18, but everyone was supposed to be like 16 to like 19.
Yeah.
And no one would play with model rockets. What's that?
Right. It was so tidy too, right? Like, boop, the end is done. Clap, clap.
Yeah.
The dog's alive. Hey, all right, we are PG-13. The dog didn't really die.
Totally.
Yeah, and it's like I thought about this movie and the kids in it, and it's like they play with rockets, and they have like this like big manicured lawn, and I'm like, these kids are probably in like 4-H or something, but
Do they have
So,
4-H?
it's what Canadians think America is like. Or
oh,
was.
I know. And there's something about this that made me think of Troll 2. It's like someone else's concept of what America looks like, but this is a little bit closer. Like, you didn't have teenagers dancing around on their underwear doing upside down hand goggles or anything, or telling their boyfriend that my dad'll snip off your penis, your little tiny penis with a pair of I mean, it's, you know, it's nothing weird like that. It's just kind of like they're just dorky, wholesome. You know, it's not like everyone drinks like 3 glasses of milk during the movie, but you know.
No, but like the brother-sister relationship, you can tell they actually care about each other. And it's the older sister is on that preface of like, does she want to conform and be like the other girls, or does she want to still kind of maintain her childlike stuff, like the fact that she was interested in NASA and like, I really like that character because they could have made her really shitty, but they made her like really a kind of a great big sister. She was she was like, yeah, my brother's a dork, yeah, his friends are dorks, but also when he got hurt from levitating, which I was like, you know, we're all cool with this, that happens.
Yeah.
But she was so like gentle with him and like felt really bad for him being embarrassed, because that was embarrassing. He cried in front of all these other older kids. No, everyone was very kind of cool, or his sister was cool about that, but everyone was kind of like, oh, that kid just levitated and broke 2 lights. It's like they were totally chill about it.
That I remember thinking that was so weird the first time, and I'm like, oh, I must have missed something when I watched it the first time. And then every other time after that, I'm like, no, this is dumb. How come no one's like, oh my God, we levitated that kid?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta say though, I'm really what's cool about it is like the guy who did one of the many cool things about this film is that the guy who did was a special effects supervisor in this, went on to do like he made Gollum, and he worked on King Kong, and just like what is it? He worked on Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
He did like gosh, he was part of the Lord of the Rings, but he didn't make like he was part of the team that made Gollum, which is cool. Like that's something to go on to for sure. I mean, I thought the special effects in this were really, really fun.
Oh,
and slightly traumatizing, but also awesome.
Yeah, no, the whole concept of the wall breaking open, someone being inside of it, and then
such a cool urban legend, right? I mean, we all heard that urban legend.
Oh yeah. But then dragging someone into the wall closing, not being able to go into the wall, not knowing what's happening. I mean, it's just stuff like that. That's like, oh my God, what would you do in that situation? Kind of stuff. And I'm like,
I remember hearing stuff like that. People saying like, oh, that house has somebody buried in their walls.
Oh yeah, no, I remember stuff like foundations and stuff like that is like, yeah, that kind of stuff too. But or like this building has a bunch of people in its cement floor or something like that.
Well, there is in Japanese like mythology, or not mythology, but like there are some like old stories about I can't remember what they're called. What's the hikikomori? But that's not the right word. It's there are people that are buried in like standing up inside of things to ward off evil. Yeah. So I mean, sometimes those stories are real.
Yeah. Well,
but they don't come out of the wall.
if you bury someone inside of an object standing up, I mean, you're gonna have a haunted house. I mean, that's how you get ghosts. If there's one way that I've ever heard that it's like, this house is haunted and we don't know why. It's like, well, I don't know. Maybe there's people in the walls. But yeah, people in the walls. Not under the stairs, but in the walls. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about with this film?
I mean, it's a pretty easy one.
Yeah. No, it's PG-13, and I don't know. I say like film sense.
Hitobashira. Sorry, that was what the name of that is.
Okay, but I mean, I'd be willing to show this to my 10-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, PG-13. You have to have a really sensitive 13-year-old. I mean, for this to be actually PG-13, I feel like you'd have to have like a sensitive 13-year-old who's like,
I mean, for kids, I feel like though that has like that fever dream quality, and that would make it a little bit more scary for.
Yeah.
People. I don't really remember the terror that I had. I don't think I remember being very scared of this because, like, my first horror film was. So watching from behind my dad's chair, trying to because I would like hide behind the couch or behind the chair and watch the movies that they were watching when they were having their adult time watching movies. And one of them was like, I guess like This House Possessed or something like that. And it was really, really scary. And so for me, that bar had already been risen pretty high. And so it needed to be pretty scary for it to be scary, but what I always loved about this is just that it's just like it's almost like a comfort movie because it's not
I can get that.
Because it's not nihilistic at all. There's this is such a great palate cleanser after our last 3 movies.
Oh yeah.
So I just think that's it's such a good fun one. I mean, and it has some like Lovecraftian vibes. I mean, you got to admit the major monster at the end where it has like the multi-arm thing, that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Super Lovecraftian.
I agree.
A Shantak. He had a horse face. I mean,
he had a horse face. Yeah.
And even the minions are, I think, kind of Lovecraftian.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, those things are creepy, and oh yeah.
I want to say they appear again in something else that isn't this movie, but a Full Moon production. But that could just be me recalling something I saw in the 90s. I don't know.
Oh yeah. No,
I'll have to do a little deep dive on that one.
They are a little bit generic looking, but
yeah.
I could see them being in a lot of different movies, or like, I don't know, like I know it's a full bodysuit that. It's forced perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like all the effects in this movie are practical because computer graphics didn't exist in movies yet, really. I mean,
and it's to its advantage.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. If this was one of the first movies that used computer graphics, it wouldn't have looked good.
Yeah.
But oh goodness, how they did things it's filmed in a house. You can tell that it's filmed in a house. It's just filmed in a really big house with no furniture barely in it. A
lot of the outdoor scenes though are on a stage.
Okay. Are they?
Yeah. My understanding is part of it was because the house that they filmed in, they were building around it.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
I'm not seeing anything else about the monsters being reused.
Okay.
I guess that was something I'd seen in my head.
Well, I think there were a lot of imitations.
Yeah. I think if you look back at the Full Moon catalog in that time period, there was a lot of at least maybe nods to it, or maybe there were certain people that worked on that makeup team or worked on other films. I don't know. I'd have to, like I said, I'd have to deep dive that guy.
Yeah, and not exactly, but even kind of get the vibes in Doll Man.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say it's like something like. Maybe not that particular monster, but something that they used for the guy who made Ghoulies, or the people that were involved with all that Full Moon stuff and during the period of the child friendly rubber little monster movies.
Mm-hmm.
There was so many of the, like earlier I mentioned Munchies and, Ghoulies, and Gremlins is one of those kid-friendly movies that's also a horror movie.
Ghoulies is kid friendly?
No, not Ghoulies. I meant Gremlins.
Okay, I was like, wow. I don't think that one was. I don't remember it being. I remember it being a little more intense because there was like sex and stuff. But
yeah, and Munchies, I don't remember
Critters.
if it's PG-13 or R. I remember it was a comedy more than anything.
Yeah.
That wasn't funny, but
it didn't have to be a good comedy. Just that it was one.
No, it was a late night horror comedy, but yeah, no.
We should sometime do like the full moon catalog. That'd be kind of funny to see.
Oh yeah.
To rewatch some of those guys, like what are those like Puppet Master movies? Ooh,
oh yeah.
Woo. Some of those are terrible.
Maybe season 19.
Yeah, there you go. Full moon catalog, season 19. Watching Subspecies.
Oh yeah.
17.
All right. Well, everyone, I think that's it for this episode. Yeah. I've had a lot of fun talking about The Gate and trying to figure out what the heck a Shantak is. And Seabury Quinn, man, what a bunch of writing that guy did.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see you next time where we're talking about
Jacob's Ladder.
We're talking about Jacob's Ladder, and what's the main?
I think it's like the Shining Techro.
Oh yeah. We're going to be talking about the Shining Trapezohedron,
which Dr. Dexter threw into the ocean.
What's that?
Dr. Dexter throws it into the ocean.
Oh,
does he?
I don't know. All right. Well, we'll see y'all next week, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. You can check us out anywhere you find podcasts. Go to pgttcm.com to see all the show notes and everything that you're missing. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the YouTubes. So check us out. And yeah, check out pgttcm.com. Find out if we're going to be at a convention near you, how to get a cool t-shirt, or, I don't know, a coffee mug, or something that you tell everyone's a coffee mug, but secretly it's a wine mug. Anyway, you do you. Gretchen, Dave, thank you again for being on the show, and we will see you all next week. Goodbye, everyone.
See you soon.
All right. That was a good episode, everyone. Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, it was like a little bit of a question of whether we're going to start or not. I'm sorry if I was like, bye. No.
Yeah, no. I was goofing off, and I totally thought today was Wednesday.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys, I'm not going to be able to record the week of, hang on. I'm going to be in Colorado that week. It's the Thursday, June 8th. That's the only day I'm going to miss.
Okay, no problem.
But other than that, I'll be back on schedule. I was thinking about whether I could record there, but I was like, nah, that'd be rude.
Yep. Yeah, no. Don't record.
Vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, I do stuff like that. You don't have to. All right. Well, thank you, both of you, and I will talk to you next week.
And I'll get this right over to you.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, I'll talk to y'all later.
All right. See you guys next week.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.